Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the House of Dragon Reviews, Episode 6, Season 2. I am the Clown Prince of Lettuce, Tress Snail. I'm joined by...
The Dragon Rider Taylor Field.
Yeah, there's a couple Dragon Riders in this episode, But, ladies and gentlemen, it's just us two. No Kirkland. Who knows where he is? He said he had a migraine. I don't know why did he have that. I don't know what's maybe happened to him. Maybe you'll get some updates on him this week. I don't.
Burying too many clones, I think.
That's
stressing him out.
You never know. I just hear, it's a dangerous place. Your house got, some people were in there. You never know what can happen here in Kelowna.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll have to see what happened to Mr. Pats, or I don't know. But, ladies and gentlemen, we are here to talk about House of Dragon. As usual, everything you need to know is down below. Our video, our audio, our Discord. Most importantly, GeekVerse.ca is happening August 3rd. We are doing an 8-hour stream in honor of our 9-year anniversary. There is the official me and Taylor doing our 4th wrestling match. There is Geek Versus, which we have, I got to do the count, but I'm going to say at least over 30, maybe 40 characters. They're all fictional characters, and we put them in a randomizer and we debate. So you could get Batman and Goku. You get John Cena and the Viggo Morrison from Hidalgo. You could get Elsa versus Ash from Evil Dead. We don't know, and we debate it, and we talk about who with their merits we think could win. They're always tons of fun. I think people are excited for that one. We got a trivia battle with me and Dylan. Taylor's hosting it, and then it's teams of patrons and Kirkland. That's going to be a good time. And then finally, the 2012 Golden Geek. So we're doing our Oscars for that. We're all watching 2012 movies right now, and we're going to decide what was the best movie, best actor, best actress, best scene, best villain. I guess we won't do most... for shits and giggles, maybe we should do like a... Oh, no, probably not. I was going to say I would do a most anticipated for 2013, but we probably won't have enough time already. But maybe we won't do a 5, but we'll look at the list and go, what would we have put on that list? Because now we've seen them, so it's a little biased. But we'll take a look because we usually do that. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is House of Dragon, as we said. We got 2 episodes left, so we will be here as usual. We're going to give our non-spoiler thoughts, so if you haven't got around and seen the episode, now is the time to listen. And then if you have, we'll take a little ad break right after, and then we'll be good to go. Taylor Field, what do you feel about this episode?
Oh, it was really nice to see how things are kind of picking up here and getting amped up. I did laugh because there were some things, there were some mistakes here, and I just feel like at the end of the day, both sides are just consistently making mistakes.
Storyline mistakes. I thought you meant like
choices the characters make. No continuity. When did the dragons get introduced into this?
But no, we have had Starbucks cops in Game of Thrones before, right? So I was like, were you seeing a bunch of that? Did you see Mr. Jack in the Box? He was there,
But yeah, I think as much as I am, I'm team Rhaenyra. The Greens, the Hightowers, I just think it's funny that they're not exclusively the only ones though that do make mistakes, that Rhaenyra is making mistakes as well. And of course I don't feel like it's
as big,
as severe. Yeah, not as big. And I like how things kind of turned around here. And there's something I don't know if you called it, but you were alluding to it.
Episode thing? The thing that happens the last 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I said to Emma, I'm like, you can go back, you can roll tape. That's why I love life as a podcaster. From the first time this thing was introduced, I'm like, this is happening. This is the way it's going. So now I feel very confident about the other thing I've been saying is going to happen. We'll get into spoilers, but that's a very
the other thing was
interesting development that's going to happen now. So,
but yeah, overall it was a really, really good episode. I had a lot of fun with it, and it was intense. And there's a certain I think for Allison's character, it's just not the most ideal circumstance, and it's funny how things really progress since the finale. Yeah, with how things have progressed in this episode at King's Landing. I guess not a spoiler, but
it's not good over there.
It's not doing good, and I think as Prince Regent, Aemon has he's got his work cut out for him. But it's funny just to see how everything is unfolding. I think key characters are doing some really key things, and we get to know a little bit more too about what's going on over in the Vale.
Yeah.
And but now this isn't a spoiler, but I thought this was actually kind of cool. You'll remember this because you just did your Game of Thrones rewatch, but when Robb Stark was alive, he betrays Walder Frey and marries the nurse, and then Walder Frey sends one of his sons, and the son's like, we'll have to do like apologies, yada yada. But my lord also wants Harrenhal, and Robb Stark's like, okay, you'll have it. So the Freys have always wanted Harrenhal, and it was mirroring the conversation that the Freys were having with I can't remember his name, but. Rhaenyra's eldest
Jace.
son. Yeah,
Jaceres,
Jaceres
yeah.
Targaryen, and he's like, "Oh, we'll give you Harrenhal." So they've always been trying to get Harrenhal, but they can never get it. It seems.
Yeah, no, it's I wonder why. I wonder what lore dates back to why the Freys always wanted it. You know, because some of those houses always had that, right? There's just a specific thing they want. Because even then, because I thought about during this rewatch, it's like of Game of Thrones, and it's like, oh, there always has to be a Stark in the North, and it's like, when did that start? You know, that must have been like hundreds and hundreds. Like, I guess I'm just assuming a Stark somehow just like settled or found the North, but it's just like, how did that even start? Like, how did just one name like this someone in this family has to be in the
It's not
North?
even sure you get to keep the property.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, there always has to be a field in Kelowna. It's
Yeah,
like,
in
oh,
Rutland, yeah.
in Rutland, yeah.
I guess I should, specify it's a Stark and Winterfell because they don't run the whole North, but still, you know what I mean there. So, yeah, no, I thought this was a good episode with a lot of developments. I think it's one of those who knows what Kirkland thinks. It is like a more quieter one again. I feel like as far as just like there's no big battles, there's not big fights, there's not any, I think, big deceptions, but I think it's again lots of big setups, and I think that it's stuff that we will see in these next two episodes, but I also think it's stuff that's setting up for even next year already, you know, stuff that's not going to play out. And yeah, the Aemon King thing I'm really enjoying because he's one of my, I don't know if I want, I still, it's always back and forth between him and Daemon. I love them both, and then Rhaenyra. Those are always the top three. But I think with him, it's been such an interesting run because he's taking over, and we'll get into spoilers, just being king at an interesting time. I still think would be a better king than Aegon. I still think you could make an argument for it in some ways, but it's almost like they'd almost, I wouldn't say it'd be the perfect king, but they'd be a better king if they could both almost rule together in a sense, even though Aegon really has no idea sometimes what was going on here. So yeah, I felt like we got updates on a lot of characters, and I'm really curious to see what kind of plays out in these next two episodes and what plays out more so in the long run. There was a certain actor that was back that I was very happy to see back, and that's always good. And yeah, I again, the show is, if it's in, like, I feel like there's probably been no episode that's like lower than an 8 out of 10. It's always fluctuating between that and back and forth. So yeah, next week seems like it's going to be interesting, especially with what the cliffhanger was. I really want some explanation of how said character could do said thing, because that is a big moment, especially at the beginning of this episode. It was saying, hey, you can only do this if you're A, B, and C. And we don't know anything about that with this new character. So yeah, there's lots of stuff going on. And even then it's like, okay, where do certain allegiance lie of new characters coming in the show, right? Or characters that are starting to get more in the war. So I don't know. So it's you know, and I think this show's been really good at kind of giving us some good subtle comedy, or not like it's situational comedy. There's just one character in particular that seemed pretty happy, and the happiness went, and you know, I got a chuckle. Unfortunately, it was a terrible thing that happened to him, but I got a chuckle. So anything else non spoilers?
Nope.
Okay, well, we will break it down right after this ad break. And we're back, and if you didn't want to listen to that, head over to Patreon right now. It's in the link down below. You can get every episode we do ad-free. If you want to wait, GeekVerse.ca, what's going to happen is if you join on Patreon, that if you up your tier or join Patreon, the feed and stream will go longer, so we'll put the times on the week there. So that's our way to kind of support us, because one, we are independent content creators, but it's also just a way to support our content that we do next year, because next year is going to be busy with a bunch of movies and shows and games. So if you want extra stuff, if you want when we do extra reviews or extra newscasts, extra retro stuff like that, you guys and gals and everyone else in between, you push forward our content. So yeah, episodes ad free, exclusive, early, lots of good jazz in there. So yeah, I want to talk about that Dragon Rider, because that's where I want to know. So he is with, which I really liked. For weeks we've been back and forth with the sea snake, and you know, his alleged bastard. He says bastard, but you know, in the show is alleged. But one, I like that we saw him shaving his head, like the white hair off his head, like, so his whole life he's been really high, that, which is not a bad thing, because we've seen before in Game of Thrones, sometimes if you're just a bastard, even if you have no interest whatsoever in leading, being part of the family, you can be used for leverage. You can be killed. So I think it's very smart and savvy of that character to be shaving his head when he gets the chance to. And then his brother, because that's his brother, right? The guy with the dreadlocks.
That's
right?
what he says. They call each other brother.
So I don't know if they have. Well, obviously they don't have the same somebody. I'm guessing share the same mother. Yeah, they'd have to, I guess, because the other guy. So they share the same mother, but I don't know if like it's a situation. Did they claim that this child was also the father? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like the bastard. Was it like a Jon Snow situation where they accepted him into the family, but everyone knew it was Ned Stark's bastard? Or did they just accept this kid in the family of like, hey, you slept with this lady, it's a bastard child, but we're just going to say it's yours? That we don't know. I don't know what the situation is there, you know?
Well, it seems like Queen Rhaenys knew his origin.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if the Sea Snake knows the origin. My prediction right now is that the brother of the shaving head dude was he was being chased by sea smoke. Is that what he is? The dragon? I think it's
sea smoke. Yeah.
So the sea smoke was like going after him, coming at him pretty crazily, and so I think now this guy's like freaking out. I think they're very ambiguous with this. Oh, Sea Smoke has a rider, and I'm pretty confident it's going to be the guy shaving his head. I think they were alluding to maybe it was the guy who was with the dreadlocks and hopping on the back, but I think it's going to be the brother that'll just have appeared there because I saw an interesting post where they're setting up the stage for they need more dragon riders, and so you have the guy who's a Targaryen drinking in the bar, you got the guy who's a Targaryen who's saving his sick daughter, and then you got this guy who's a bastard and shaving his head. So I think these are all going to be dragon riders for Rhaenyra.
So I don't think it is because in the preview it looks like it is the dreadlock guy.
In the preview, I didn't watch the preview.
I saw a preview for it, and he's standing there beside the dragon. Unless the bald guy tamed him and brought him along.
Squash my fucking theory, though.
But even though if it was, well, that's why I want to say that because I couldn't play it down. There was 1 week I did when Kirkland didn't see the preview if Aegon was alive, and I'm like, well, technically I don't know if Aegon's alive. They showed him, they announced that he was back in King's Land, but like he could just die right away. So I'll just say, okay, what if he's dead? And I told Kirkland, like, oh, he's probably alive. But this time I got to say it because they show it there. But even if it was the bastard, why would he have been able to ride a dragon?
Because they have the Targaryen blood in them, right? That's why they picked this random knight because, like,
it looks
like that's what it is. Targaryens are dragon riders. That's how it is.
Yeah, but he's not a Targaryen. Mm-hmm. That's my thing. No, he's not.
Well, no, the guy if it is the dreadlocks guy, then that's interesting because then maybe there is something else. But the other guy who's shaving his head, he's Targaryen.
No, he's not. He's Valyrian. Mm-hmm. No,
I'm pretty sure that. Yeah, but they've intermingled their bloodlines, though.
Have they? Why? Because
we know Rhaenys and the sea snake. There's a good example, and then we know that the sea snake's granddaughters and Daemon. There's an example.
But that's all after him. Why?
But we don't know before though, right? And they all came from Valyria. I'm pretty sure.
So then, why doesn't the sea snake have a dragon?
Oh, he probably just didn't bond with one like his granddaughter Rhaena. Because she was
Rhaena, yeah. I'm just saying it's not confirmed yet if that's there, because that's to me is because I don't think just straight up Valyrians can ride a dragon, and I don't know if the Valyrians had been with a Targaryen before Rhaenys, right? Rhaenys, yeah.
Rhaenys.
Yeah, so I don't know. That's why I don't know the lore here. So if they haven't, then I don't know. And then same thing is Dreadlock guy. Does that mean he has some sort of tie to Targaryen blood, or is he just a rider? I don't know, which I don't think is the thing, because all the dragon riders we know have some sort of Targaryen blood in them. So that's what's interesting, and that's where I don't know what's going to be happening there with that. I think he will go to our hero's side because they're already there. I think he'll make some demands, but I just don't see. I don't see either character, if they had the dragon, that they would go. Like, I feel like they're setting him up with the sea snake side, and even then, it's not so much like they're really opposed to each other. The one brother's just like, hey, you should do this, and be his son, and you could get this and this and this. And the guy that is the bastard's kind of like, well, I don't really want any of that. Like, it's all nice to think about, but he's not concerned about that. And ever since he saved him, he's been very, very distant from the sea snake. He'll talk to him, and it feels like he does want to keep his space, and that's why I'm interested to get more of that there. So
here's the answer to your question.
Okay.
Even though their surname is not Targaryen, Valerians can ride dragons because their blood is from old Valyria, like Targaryens are.
Okay.
They were the
Okay.
vassals, so
That's-
they
okay.
came with Targaryens from there, and that's why they intermingle with the Targaryens, their families, and that's why they.
Then I can accept that.
they
That's
ride
why
'em.
they would be. So sea snake. They're talking about people who should ride dragons. You get the sea snake up on a dragon.
He wants
you
his
know?
boats. He likes his boats.
Yeah, he's too injured too. So yeah, I'm not sure if that. I would imagine with George R. R. Martin involved in everything, I guess they're gonna say that maybe he is tied, that he has some Targaryen blood in him. That guy, then maybe the dreadlocks
It's
guy, if he can
possible,
ride a
yeah.
dragon,
I
which
would
is
think so.
interesting because
Unless he's just a Valerian, and that doesn't matter.
he's also a bastard. Well, he doesn't have the hair though, you know.
He doesn't have the hair, yeah.
Yeah,
Unless he
neither-
dyes it.
Yeah, neither does Jace, but they don't talk about that. you
No.
know. They try and it doesn't go. So, yeah, so that'll be interesting. Do you think whoever has dragon, which like I said, is Dreadlock guy in the trailer, do you think he'll be partnering up with Rhaenyra?
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, the Valerians and the Sea Snake are already on that side to begin with,
Yeah.
so I think that it's gonna kind of go hand in hand. Plus, like, Sea Smoke came from Dragonstone, right? So I think that it just makes sense. It goes hand in hand.
And then, funny enough, in that, I was gonna say Rhaena, she's getting on a dragon too, right?
Yeah, this unknown dragon that's just
Yes.
like ravaging the Vale. I think that's for sure her calling. She's gonna get on.
That's
board
I
with
said
this
this.
dragon.
I said this last week, but I'll say again. That's when you were really wrong because you're like, oh, we're never gonna see them. We're not gonna see them for a whole season. You rid off Rhaena and the kids, and I thought we might visit once, but I don't think we were gonna get her getting on a dragon or
Yeah, they're
anything
keeping
like
her
that.
long term now. but
Yes.
I thought that was Sea Smoke that was destroying the sheep in the Vale.
That's what I thought too, but I don't. I don't think it is because
No, she said it ever since the war started. There was
Yes.
a dragon here, right?
Yeah, and
So
then
how did
Sea
the
Smoke
Targaryens-
left.
Sea Smoke left. Yeah. So how the fuck did the Targaryens just lose a dragon, right?
I guess it depends how old this is, right? Because if there's a dragon, like who knows where it was? It could have been somewhere far away and then it flew over. Like
That's
we even
true.
talk about like what's that island? It's like Bezos, that like where Daenerys came from, right? Like dragons don't gotta have boats, right? They can go anywhere. So who knows what's happening? Hopefully winter's not coming. We don't need another winter. But yeah. So I guess there's unclaimed. So this Sea Smoke's gonna be claimed, and then there's still 2 dragons, right, at Rhaenyra's place that are unclaimed. I think.
I think she said she had 4, including Sea Smoke.
Really, I didn't hear that because I thought there was the 2, and then Sea Smoke was one that lost a partner, but obviously Damon. But okay, even then. So, but yeah, and that's gonna be interesting if Rhaena gets a dragon because then they got Jace, they got Rhaenyra, they got Dreadlock Guy, they got Rhaena, and then if Damon does come back, that's 5. So we're looking pretty powerful there if they can pull off. Versus they just have 1 now, right? With Aemond, it's the biggest one, but.
They.
Or
I
does no?
think
I
they
think
do.
no. I think Mike told us last week or a couple weeks ago. I think the daughter does have a dragon. I think Helena.
Yes, she does.
Yeah.
That's right.
but
she
I don't
does.
see her any. I don't.
That girl ain't flying into war.
I see her
I'll tell
flying
you right
away.
now.
I see her flying away,
She's flying
and she
with her
should.
crickets.
Yeah, she should. She should get her cricket. She should get that one child that's left and get the fuck out of here because she doesn't deserve any of this. This poor girl. She's just like being hoisted along by her family, and just like now she's getting attacked. Like she is again. That's a character that I don't know what the happy ending for that character is, but I hope by House of Dragons she's not someone that gets killed off, and she does just like pull like what whoever the Sea Snake's son was, of just when he just faked his suicide and got away. I hope she does that because she doesn't need to be in this war or lose any kids or be partnered up with Aemon at any point. You know, we don't
Yeah.
need that for her. So but yeah, that happened this week where Allison, we'll get to her. Obviously she had a bad council meeting, but they go out there doing just their regular praying on souls, everything like that. And then they start to leave. This is right after Rhaenyra had sent some gifts down the direction of King's Landing. It's kind of tied with a bunch of issues, but now word's spreading of, hey, there's food's not coming in. If so, it's very little. All the big goats are going to the dragon, so the townspeople are pissed about that. Aemon says, like, oh, why aren't they blaming Rhaenyra? But like they go to who the direct source is, right? Because so even if Rhaenyra is cutting off the food, as the Master Whispers Lair said, well, they look at the king, you to fix it, right? So that was, I think Aemon's plan to put it on her, but that's not how it's working out. So they're getting no food. Rhaenyra sends food. So now all these people have gotten food, and they're charged up because all the food came in boats with flags with Rhaenyra's, house on it, which I know they have the same house, but you know what I mean, the color and the banner, Team Black. So now the town is super pissed. So when they see Helena, the former queen, and then the queen and then the former queen together, there's a riot, and they just go to attack and kill. There's this great moment where one of the guys grabs her, and then the knight cuts off his hand, and then poor knight, night guard, she says, "Oh, sheathe your swords," and then they're getting attacked, and they're not allowed to pull out their swords, so they're just like,
No, you're pulling it out. That order belayed that. That's outdated at that
not
point.
some of those guys on the ground. No, they showed guys that didn't have swords out just getting beaten by the mob. So I think they just took it literal, and just, well, our queen said don't use swords, and they're probably beaten to death now. So this was great to see, because for me, I just finished go check out last newscast. Tons of fun, over 3 hours of just breaking down lots of news and trailers and Deadpool Wolverine predictions, which are reviewed this week. That's kind of crazy. We're 5 days away, Taylor, from Deadpool Wolverine, so it's gonna be a good one. But they do come out, but it's funny in Game of Thrones that the king, like, and then eventually Queen Cersei, but like they don't really leave the Red Keep that much, and if they do it somewhere else, like Robert goes hunting and look what happens to him, but like that's the only reason he does. Joffrey rarely leaves. I was saying this to Emily, like Natalie Dormer's character, when they're married or about to get married, and she takes him to like the townsfolk. Cersei's pissed because it's like you don't stop and go see the people because riots can happen, and even if they do leave the Red Keep, it's like for the joust or for a ceremony, or they're like guards everywhere, right? Like Tomlin, like the fucking I can't. Is it Tomlin? Whoever the second son is of Jaime and Tommen. Yeah, I'm thinking of Torben because his fucking Star Wars character. But Tomlin, like, even he goes out, he's like surrounded by the Knight's Guard, right? So this was kind of fun to see. If like, I'm sure it's still the case, but this almost felt like the beginnings of kings and queens being like, yeah, you can't go out anymore. Like, because Aegon used, like, the thing about when Aegon was king, he was still going to brothels, he was doing a bunch of stuff, but now it's like, one, he can't go anywhere out, but same thing with her, it's like they're after you. So I don't know if this is the start of it in Canada, but it kind of felt like a mini, like, hey, you know why the kings and queens don't go out in the, Game of Thrones? This is why, because they could just be fucking destroyed and murdered,
Yeah, well, there are a few instances, right, where Joffrey went out and one of the people threw shit at his face, and he
exactly
freak
doesn't
out,
go
like,
well.
who do that? But yeah, even with Cersei, the only time she really left was when she got captured by the High Sparrow, and that
and which was not her choice there, right? That was
it wasn't. So you definitely just don't want to leave the Red Keep. You're safe in the Red Keep.
So yeah, did you what do you think continues after this? Now that the people were, I assume they were going to get killed if they got caught, the two queens, right? Or worse, or
they would have. They would have been worse. It would not have been good for them. And so it's one of those situations. You look at what Alicent has brought on her family and onto the kingdom, and I mean, this is her fault. It really is. So, like, what do you do? What do you do at this point? You can't control the Prince Regent because Aemon is just like, he's nonchalant, doesn't care, and he's offering Larys, like, what Larys thinks is like the hands position. He's like, no, God. You toad. You're gonna arrange the other person to become the hand. I was laughing at that. That was brutal. So yeah, I really feel bad for the what is the Dowager Queen, and not
Queen Dowager or whatever, not Queen Regent,
I guess not Alicent.
That's
in place of I guess
technically Aemon's King Regent, not Prince Regent. Yeah,
I know Alicent is the Dowager Queen, but I'm meaning, I guess, her daughter, who is still technically queen, because technically Aegon is still alive, so she's still the queen.
Yes,
I feel bad for her because she's definitely got it the worst. And when everyone was just rioting and people were going crazy, it's like, shit, you guys got to get out of there. That's not safe. But yeah, it was just it's nuts, and it's such a brilliant tactic too, to just specifically put your flag on all these boats and send the boats into the harbor of the harbor you're blockading, and just have it so that it's all food and people are going to be going crazy and everyone's going to be kicking the shit out of each other, but then still loving Queen Rhaenyra for sending them food and all that jazz.
Rhaenyra, she still remembers us in her leave, or whatever the guys are like saying in the streets and stuff. So it's a good move, and they talked about it last week, right? Like, there's more than one way to win a war, and that's what they're starting to, right? So Yeah, to go to that Aemon scene. So Aemon again continues not very much caring about the people. Very a stout when it comes to the battle plans. He has no, whether they're a good idea or a bad idea, or even like his mom says they're bold. He knows what he wants to do. He's not listening to other people, and he has reasonings for doing all those things. Right? They say, hey, we don't have enough men, or they're wounded. But then he makes a good point of like, well, why don't we attack Damon before he even confirms his army? Because then at that point, then we get a win, right? Because from his point of view, it's like, yeah, sure, we can heal up, but then if he gets those people in those armies and he has a dragon, well, then it might just be an equal battle or outmatch. So I could understand, like, I understood all his reasoning. I understood the council's reasonings too, if like, hey, you might be pushing too much, but I think Aemon is just like a tactician, and he wants to fight, right? He even said it again, like we've talked about. He said, "Oh, my uncle's going to be a challenge." So again, as I'm saying, that has to happen. They can't tease us with it and not do it. And that's where I love Aemon, because I think there's some mistakes. I think the people thing is going to go against him, right? And I don't think he is a man of the people. I think he would be probably similar like Aegon the Conqueror, right? If he's just going to go and kill people and be like the king by name, not by being a good person, but. Yeah, I think obviously it's a little bit different because Alicent still had to, show Lord Larys her feet, and there's other things. But still, he always like Lord Larys, Aegon, which we'll get into a little bit. Other characters, it seems like he does have them under his thumb a little bit, or he knows a way to get under their skin. Where that's what I love. Where this like the first, I don't think we've seen Aemon and Larys talk that much, and this is the first time where Aemon's king, and there's not too many people there, and Larys is kind of throwing some of his pitches. And Aemon sees like right through every single one. Like he can just right away tell this guy is a worm, and he's just gonna try to kind of pretend he's a little finger, right? He's gonna pretend that he has your best interest in mind, but really it's looking out for himself. So that's what I loved about Aemon. That's why I still talk about. I think he's a better. I still think he's a better king than Aegon in most sense. Like I don't think again there's some mistakes he's making, but. In that way, Aegon, since Larys has been in the picture, he's been like messing with him and turning around and giving him advice, which is like mostly I think that is what Larys wants. And the second though Aemon did that, as far as one, called him out in front of everybody, and then two, offered him the hand slyly, but then took it away. Like he didn't really offer him, it's funny because he should know, like. A couple I guess this is where Aemon is a powerhead. A couple episodes ago, Aegon did that to him in the brothel, embarrassed him, and then Aemon took it upon himself to get big revenge. So I don't think he knows Larys has done quite a few bad things in this show. Like he's always, he. I won't say by the snap of a fingers, but he can set up some bad things. Like I think he could legitimately have, if Aemon leaves the Red Keep, he could have it look like some sort of accident. I don't know. Like Aemon made an enemy here, and now Larys went to Aegon, giving the heads up of like, hey, even if you survive, you're going to live this life. And even if you survive, you're probably not going to, because your brother does not want you to be around here. And that's where I like that.
But he complimented him, right? He's like, that's your advantage. Is because they're going to look at you as being crippled.
Yeah, and when he's telling the story, he was crying too. So he's talking about when he was a kid and everything. People thought it was like witchcraft that happened in his foot. So the Aemon Master Whispers dynamic already, I was like, oh, I'm liking this. Again, Aemon, that's where he's too bullheaded. He shouldn't have called him out in front of everybody. He should have played that better. But he's a very direct, precise king. But I think that's the problem where he has a lack of empathy for people. Where even when we say with Aegon, he's kind of an idiot, but he did want to try and help people, right? He's like, yeah, have your goats back. Yeah, have your lamb back. And Otto was like, no, you can't do this. So what did you think of the Larys Aemon showdown?
I mean, I think it was intense, and I loved everything that Aemon was kind of slurring at him. And so it's funny now because Larys has popped up with Aegon and is trying to reconfirm his position as Aegon being a support factor for him, because I mean Aegon gave him that position of power, right, to be the Master of Whispers, and so he definitely has a hand with Aegon. And so I don't know how long Aegon's gonna go here being in this situation, or if eventually Aemon's just gonna put the pillow over his head. I don't know, but I think Larys is feeling his list of allies grow thin because he had Alicent, and Alicent is gone now. Alicent is not in the council, just doesn't have really any power. Aegon is just barely hanging in there. So he's in a sticky situation, and who knows what Aemon thinks of just having a Master of Whispers in general. Clearly, he doesn't think much of it because it wasn't his decision. And he, Laris was definitely tiptoeing around, and it did. I never got the sense that he was implying like, "Hey, make me your hand." He was just
I
saying
did.
like, "You did, okay."
Yeah, just because like, oh yeah, you good. Cole's gone and you're gonna need a hand, and because he was doing it at a council meeting where only like 3 people were there, so it's like if it goes bad, not
Mm.
everybody saw that. So because I still thought he wanted to be the hand with Aegon, and maybe that might still happen now because who knows what's gonna happen with Cole if he'll survive, get ousted out. But yeah, I thought he was maybe angling to try to, because he accepted it very easy, right? He if he didn't want that, he might be like,
I thought
oh.
he declined it when it was like offered. 'Cause he's like, it's not my position to take it. Yada yada yada. I'm
But he still
paraphrasing, of
thanked your
course.
grace. But I thank your grace. Like I'd have to see it again. But I think he was still like I think he was trying to be modest by I wouldn't want that, but I thank you. And then when he takes it away from him, uh, slap to the face. And
Mm.
he wants Otto to come back, which is it that tracks because there's literally an episode. Like, I never remember the exact lineage, but Otto is in the Aemon camp where he thought no, he would have been a better king. I think, like I said before, I think one of the lines is he's better studied. So Otto respects that Aemon at least like did the work to prepare to become a king, where Aegon it just fell in his lap, right? So, and that's why I
Right.
still always say I think Aemon is definitely going to make some bad decisions, but it's just like if it comes, let's say you put them both in a room with no councils, no master whispers, no hand, who's going to make the better decisions? I still think Aemon, especially in a war, but that's the problem in a war. He's just so focused on that, he's not focused on anything else, and that's going to be his downfall. He just wants to win, or he wants to face off with his brother or his uncle, I guess. And then
Yeah.
also in this council, he ousted Alicent, which I was happy with, but not happy with, because we've talked about this, that I've been waiting for them to talk because Allison kind of put the blame on him, and they've lost a child, they lost Rhaenyra's son, like all this stuff's gone back and forth, and she put the blame on him, and maybe it's changed a bit for her now, but still he did eat Luke, and that did, or his dragon, not he didn't eat Luke, the dragon ate
Yeah,
Luke.
he ate Luke
Imagine,
himself.
it was just a mistake, I couldn't help myself,
Blood
I
on
just,
his lips.
yeah, I don't know, Vagar did it, but yeah, so I liked the conversation, but it still feels like there is a bigger one to be had. I feel like this was just the teaser to it. And again, if they don't have the conversation this season, I will be disappointed, because it felt like they were just talking about the council meeting and then he threw her out. And the only real stuff we got of them being like the father son is just she pretty much just alluded that ever since losing his eye, he can't get over it, right? Like all the stuff that the trauma he experienced as a child, probably the eye losing, being made fun of, everything. He's like still trying to compensate for all that. So I like the conversation, but I just feel like I'm waiting for them to kind of like blow up at each other. Maybe it'll be if Aegon actually tells her what happens. But yeah, Alicent is off the council. So what do you think about this?
Yeah, it's just funny because when you look at how she opposed having a queen rule, when it
Mm.
should be a male heir, and she opposed that, and now she shoehorned in her Aegon. She's not backing down on the misdirection and miscommunication, or interpretation, I should say, of the story of Tale of Fire and Ice. She's just putting herself in this position where she's like, "Oh, I did serve as Varys's queen regent. You can
Yeah.
elect me to be queen again." And they're like, "Nope." And then now she's kicked off the council, just like Otto Hightower has been. So the Hightowers are essentially, they did so much work to put themselves into a position of power, and it's all for nothing because it's just
Yeah.
it's mad Targaryens on the throne now, and this is because of the Hightowers games. So
Even though he
that's
wants
unfortunate.
Hightower, he wants Otto back though, which is interesting, right? Because
He
he wants him to be
does.
his. Yeah, he sent him out to be his hand. That's what
Oh,
he
that's
told.
who he said.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
okay,
why I
okay,
brought up. But
okay.
that, at least, unless I'm misunderstanding, if anyone watching can let us know. But I think he said so, because he said that line about shit's happened, but he's always gonna be loyal to his family. So I think that's why he wants Otto back at his hand, which I hope so, because I love Otto in the show. The show's always better with Otto. And to your point, you're talking about Eamon. What I liked about that conversation, that's why I'm hoping we get more. Eamon was like full business, because even when she talked about his eye and trying to make up for lost things, he's just, the crown owes you a debt, and da, da, da. He was not willing, like he wasn't even addressing her like his mother. He was not getting personal at all. So I think it's a good thing and a bad thing for Eamon. But the thing that's interesting, and I hope I didn't miss here, but I think he sent him out to be his hand, but then who was it? Alicent apparently has not heard from Otto, and there was another character too. I know her brother. I thought there was maybe it was
She
just
was
her.
inquiring about her. Was that her son? And she sent
Yes,
him away. Now, who's the father of this? Is
Sylph
that?
Viserys.
Oh,
No,
so it's
so
another Targaryen
yeah,
boy.
people brought up. I think maybe you weren't on the episode, Mike. Because Mike's more adapt to the lore. Super bad Mike. We always lean to him in the Discord and stuff. But I think he was in the chat one time. He brought up that there is the third son, and he was never talked about. And I think book readers are kind of like, are they gonna bring this character in or not? But I think he's just in Old Town studying, like they said. But before, I think he's just in Old Town studying. So
Hmm.
I feel like with them mentioning that, he might become some player in the future, but there was specific mention of multiple characters trying to get a hold of Otto, and they all went, "Oh well, it's a war, and well, he's busy." But knowing this show, nothing. There's no way it's just the Raven just didn't get to Otto, and he's just hanging out. I don't know what has happened to Otto. I don't know. I'm not gonna say it's like Lord Laris has already been one step ahead, and he like has Otto locked up in a cage somewhere. But what do you like? Why do you think these Ravens aren't getting to Otto? Like, why is Otto not responding to anybody?
Oh, it's hard to say. I mean, maybe
Like, who would
I
take him
don't.
captive if he was gone somewhere?
Yeah, I don't know. There's
Like, I
so
don't think
much going
Rhaenyra.
on with like boots on the ground right now when you have the different houses fighting like in the Riverlands and whatnot. So I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say that we'll just get another episode with him being dead because I feel like we want to see what happens, and I don't
Yeah.
want him to necessarily be dead already. I think he's still got a role to play in this show. Um,
My
yeah, I'm not
predictions.
sure.
My prediction is something with Lord Laris. I think he's one step ahead,
Yeah,
and he knew they might go back to Otto, and I think he knows that Otto, even if he likes Otto, they would probably lean to Otto's choice because it's his grandfather, and he was the hand for like 30, 40 years. So that might
yeah.
be a way to get rid of that. So we'll see. Let's see. We talk Damon. We'll talk about quickly Damon because same stuff's going on. He's having his
Losing his
nightmares.
mind.
He's still trying to get his war. Yeah, I feel bad for the older guy. He's waking up. He's gonna get fucking just like stabbed like as a jump scare at one time. But yeah, we finally got Patty back. Viserys was back. We got a scene which was interesting because that scene at the beginning with the crown when he casts him off and says, "Oh, the heir for a day." What I loved about that as I just rewatched it when in that show when he does it, Damon's all like piss and vinegar, right? He doesn't care. He has an attitude. But I feel like this scene was to show what he really felt emotionally when he was casting him out and telling him, "You're not going to be heir. I'm going to name a new one, and you got to go back to your wife." And he had to go fight that war and everything like that. And he's like, "Oh no, don't do it." And he's crying. He's yelling at the door. I think that was to show what he actually felt. And then we got another scene later on with Viserys with his past wife and his past son, and Damon wasn't there for him in that sense of like the Damon was there in King's Landing, but it wasn't this where it's emotional and he's consoling him and everything like that. At least I don't think they didn't show us that. So I think they just were trying to show that he did King, the heir thing or not, he did really love his brother at times, even though if they were really combative. But again, I'm still 50-50. I don't know with Damon. I think the week before, I was convinced this is going to be his redemption arc. And then last week when we were talking, I'm like, I don't know, maybe this is to just get him more bad. And now this week, it's like, well, this doesn't look like a non-redemption. This looks like more of a redemption arc, right? You're trying to show what he truly felt about his brother. So I'm back on the bandwagon that he's going to be somewhat redeemed. But it was nice to see Viserys, even if it was just for a couple scenes. Because obviously we got the memes and everything, but I really did like Viserys as a character. I think he's one of the better, like, House Dragons, Game of Thrones character, always had a smile on his face. Even at the worst of times,
Always.
Look at him. If he can be smiling like that, you can smile. But yeah, what do you think's going on? And then the witch too told him to stay a couple days. Winds would change, and they did. That's my other prediction. I said they're gonna fuck, and I still think that could happen because anytime they talk, they're like fucking like inches away from each, like in a way where it's like
Yeah.
that's not a normal way. But yeah, what do you feel about Damon in this episode?
I think that he's going through some shit. He really, really is.
Yeah, he was bawling in this episode after the dream. Like when he woke up, he was still bawling. He's like,
Yeah.
he's going through it, man.
Like, and I really did like the scene with him and with Viserys. I think it was very fitting. But someone is definitely screwing with his drinks. It's got to be the witch lady.
Yeah,
I don't think it's the main guy who's just kind of hosting him. That doesn't seem to make sense. Although I don't trust him necessarily. He's always like right there, ready to like
He
chime
is.
in, which is a little weird. But yeah, no, I think we know Damon's intentions because it's like, oh, I'm gonna go to King's Landing and take it over, and then Rhaenyra has every right to come by my side. So we know what his goals are, but it just sucks that he's kind of still broken off from being a main ally to Rhaenyra. I would have liked to have seen this kind of carry forth a little bit more along that front, but again, I think it's fitting of his character.
Yeah, I think you'll get more him and Rhaenyra. So I guess the finale will be, I imagine them reuniting, right? I imagine the last episode they reunite, whether she goes there or he goes there, I think. Or do you think is there a chance that they do the season they don't get back together?
I think they get back together.
Yeah, and but I also don't mean sensing that they're going to be in love. I think that there's trouble on the front there because she's, obviously we got some stuff to talk about there. But yeah, let's take our last ad break and we'll be right back. And we're back. So, Rhaenyra, I'm going to have an interesting 48 hours. So, she has this knight that she pulls up. She's like, your grandmother's grandmother was married here, and it seems like you have some Targaryen blood, so we're going to try this. Everyone in the council's kind of like, I don't know if this is a great idea, but the knight, all for it, all there to serve his queen and everything like that. He bends the knees, like, I'll do this. Starts off all right. They're doing the whole ritual and everything like that. And then he gets up there. The dragon even, Sea Smoke turns and gives him the saddle. And then all of a sudden,
God, what are you showing me? Come on.
He's gone. He's gone. One of the other keepers are gone, to a very disturbing scene where that keeper is like on fire and he just slits his throat because he doesn't want to die from being on fire. Just awful. And then the knight obviously did not make it, and Sea Smoke escapes out of anger, I guess, because he's just mad. I at no point thought this was going to work, and I got a good laugh when he said something like, I've done it. Like he said, and then it was just like,
I would just say that before mounting the dragon.
Yeah, get on the dragon. And I personally was happy because I would have been very upset with the show if just first try this knight who had, even Rhaenyra's like, oh, you need training, and we'll see about the dreadlocks guy, right? But with this, it's like, oh, you need training, and it's like, if you would have just jumped on there and if he was just a part of the Rhaenyra's crew and he just happened to be here, I would not have liked that. So, did you think at any point he was gonna mount that dragon?
No. I thought as soon as they brought him in and they explained the plan, I thought, I looked at Madison and we're like, yeah, this guy's not. He's done. And I give him props for trying to really sell it and make you think that he was okay, but no, he was fucking done. Like inching forwards, and like I think if he really wanted, he could have gotten on the back of Sea Smoke and actually successfully mounted her, but at the end of the day, I just think he just took too long.
His nerves got the best of him.
His nerves got the best of him, and I don't know why you would tempt fate, like, oh, you're mine now, or whatever he says.
Yeah, he said some line like, yeah. It was like, no, this is too early, my friend, and it was. And then Rhaenyra was ready to throw out the whole plan. They didn't talk about any more siblings or relations or cousins or great cousins, whatever. So we'll see if they bring in more, because like we said, there is other dragons. Jace, this whole episode, he's getting really upset is like the easiest way to put it.
Not privy to his mom's plans, right?
No, he's not liking that. But at this, I want to see where it goes. But at the same time, I'm not too interested into it because I don't think he's like with Daemon. It's like, hey, Daemon could go off on it by himself and do something. I don't see Jace going to King's Land and being like, I'm with you guys now, right? Or going to Daemon. Yeah. So it's like there's not that much intrigue to me with this storyline of him being a little moody. I get it that he's just like, has troubles with mom, but I just feel like they'll figure it out. Yeah. And then we got the lady Masera. Is that how you pronounce it? Kirkland's always he has it. He always like knows. But so anyways, we get Kirkland will pull it up. So it's just a lot of that. Rhaenyra again going through some strife. She slaps one of the people in her council, which she's it's getting heated over there, but. Then she has she has the meeting with Lady Sarah. Do you find that name yet, Taylor? No, you didn't.
No, almost.
Why didn't you just put a House of Dragon Lady M and then it's going to auto-populate? I promise.
That's a lot easier than putting in the cast.
Yeah, the cast. There's a lot of cast there. But they start talking. Rhaenyra, same thing, just doesn't know what's going to happen, doesn't know what Daemon. She's kind of talking about her obsession with Daemon. And it sounds, again, like obviously I think they do love each other, but it just feels like they want each other for different reasons. They talk about Masaria. Okay, so they talk about childbirth and all these things, and then Masaria tells this terrible story about her father, abusing her as a child, and then left her for dead, so she can't have children anymore. And this, which I did think Rhaenyra, when she went over, because she like power hugged her, she like power walked over to give her a hug. I thought the kiss was coming right there, but no. Then they hugged and they kissed, and yeah, that I called this episode 1 because they said when they were talking the very first time, they said some line about like being with women, and I can't remember if Masaria said it and Rhaenyra gave a look or vice versa. Someone said some line about being with women, and the other one gave like a head cock. I was like, okay, something's up here. And then every time, even this episode when they like stood outside, they were very close to each other hands wise. You had that guard just creeping behind them, so nothing was going to happen there. And they almost already got caught. I know Rhaenyra's the queen in war, but she might want to put a lock on that door soon if she's going to be having an affair with the lady here. So, and this probably would have got her in less trouble in the first place because this lady, they can't have kids together, so there's not going to be any proof of this affair. So that's a good thing. Daemon, I'm sure we'll find out, and I don't know what's going to happen.
Join in.
There is a multiverse where Daemon would join in, but there's also a multiverse where I think he just kills Lady M, and then it's like, do you not think Daemon would do that for some reason if he feels she just has a better connection with Rhaenyra than he does, and like get her out of the equation?
Yeah, I could see that, and of course, any kind of threat to. Well, I don't think he cares about his claim anymore. He's just doing his own thing.
Yeah. Well, and plus, I don't think she'd have a claim. Like, I guess they could get married, but I don't know that's gonna happen. Judging by Game of Thrones, I don't think that's progressive. At one point, they had a lesbian queen in the history of Westeros, because even in the Game of Thrones, some of those characters still think like that should be like a act punishable by death. But yeah, what do you think's gonna go down here now that they locked lips and they seem to be connecting? So what do you think? Where does that put us in the future? Or is it just gonna be like a lust thing that drives a wedge between Rhaenyra and Daemon when he does get back?
Oh, well, I think they timed it well in the episode, having it at the end and having Rhaenyra's distraction too, because we couldn't really get to interpret how she felt about it post the kiss. So of course, she got the news of Sea Smoke and the fact that he's got a rider. So she stormed off to go track him down. But I don't know what's going to happen, what the fallout of this is going to be. I don't think... no, I don't know. It's interesting, but I'm not sure. I do agree with you. They should have put locks on those doors because that was way too risky, but
yeah,
I digress.
But I guess at the same time, what the guard's going to say, right? Like, they're just going to keep going. There's nothing. No, I'm sure they know kings and queens are doing stuff. So, look at everyone at the table. They just know Allison's up to something. So,
yeah.
Yeah, no, it's going to be interesting what happens there. I think that's what's going to happen is because I just don't see them just being in love and it working out. I feel like they'll be together, lay together, and then Damon's going to figure it out, and then I think that'll create a power struggle, and then which will be interesting if they do have Damon sleep with the witch, because then he's going to come back all hypocritical because he'll be like, oh, why were you with someone else? But then he's banging this weird witch, which may not happen. Maybe it won't happen, but either way, I don't like the lady's chances because I feel like her and Damon already have like a rocky relationship. So now that she's gonna be sleeping with his wife, and I don't know, Damon's just a character I don't see taking that well because I think he views things as property. So I could see him doing something like him, and then that also being a more thing that him and Rhaenyra start to like get split apart even more. So right, like they just can't come back from certain things. So we will see. Is there any other character or any other moment we haven't talked about that you want to?
I don't think so. I think that hits everyone.
Yeah, I think so. Aegon's in pain. It's looking brutal, but I guess he's going to make it. Aemon, of course, had to lean on his gut, so that hurt. But he left him his little king ball or whatever, so I guess Aegon's going to make a recover, and we'll see what happens. He can't walk, but I don't know. I think I think he will tell Alicent eventually what happened to him, and then from there it's going to be... He's going to have to tell somebody, right? So, yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for this episode. We will be back next week with the penultimate episode, episode 7. See what happens with this Dragon Rider, a bunch of other developments, and then we will be back. So thank you very much, and it will not be boring.
Bye-bye.